I'm here to tell y'all that building a business is very much throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And a lot of that just has to do with trying shit out. Why did you want to do something outside of your career?
I was not happy with my white male older boss. Like 6 months before I started the business, I had gone to my mid-year review and I had asked for a promotion. And he basically told me that I could never be promoted for two reasons. One, because I didn't have a film background. And he said, and two, that position is reserved for me when I step down.
Karina, my love, welcome back to the show. It is always an honor to have you here on Yo Quiero Dinero. You are a beloved member of our community and someone who's been featured on the show multiple times at this point. And I wanted to bring you back for my special series that I launched this year, Jefas y Mamás, because motherhood has given me such new insight into what it is to balance the most important job in the world with all of the hopes and dreams that many of us have as entrepreneurs, as first gen wealth builders. And you, for me, are a very, very aspirational example of like what it looks like to do that in real time. You are a badass corporate baddie, podcaster, relationship coach, mother of two, helping people get their relationships together. Like, girl, you're doing it all. You're doing it all, and you'd make it look easy, which I know it's not. But we're going to be diving into your story and how you managed to do something that so many people who listen to my show, especially moms, want to do, which is pursue their entrepreneurial goals while also showing up as the moms they want to be, as the partners they want to be, as the humans they want to be, in a way that they feel like they're serving all of these different roles equally and also not forgetting about themselves. So I say all that to say, welcome to the show.
Gracias. I'm so happy to be here, Jannese. You know how much I love you. And Jannese was actually one of my first mentors with the side hustle. How to start a side hustle with a 9 to 5. That was, what year was that?
Gosh,
2020,
2021.
2021.
Yeah, I think you were like one of my first
Yeah, I was
students
your
in the
first
Ultimate
cohort.
Side Hustle starter kit. And fun fact, y'all, we're actually going to be sunsetting that program this year. So make sure that you're staying tuned to the newsletter because there's going to be some really cool offers to get your last chance access to this program before it no longer exists.
Wow. Come
Okay.
on, you better get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, Karina, for folks who don't follow you on social, I mean, Karina has a massive social media following, and it has a lot to do with the fact that she is going against the algorithm. She's not out here doing dance trends or like lip syncing to TikTok songs. She is actually out here helping people navigate one of the most challenging, I would say, aspects of what it is to be a human being, which is your relationships. So, tell us what you do, Karina, and we're going to get into your backstory, how you've amassed over 240,000 followers on your social media, and how you have turned this idea into a six-figure business while also working full-time and doing all the things.
Yes. And Jannese, not until you say it do I actually remember that's what's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for the reminder. My name's Karina F. Days. I am a marriage expert, relationship expert. And, right now we're very heavily focused on stepping out, whether that is infidelity, whether that is financial disloyalment, whatever it is that you feel like your partner went against the grain in your relationship. And I say that because when I started my business, we started out helping moms get their lives back. And so that was, and I say we, but it's just me. That was what we were doing, and we were mainly focused on boundaries and relationships and friendships. And then my husband and I did a marriage series. It was a 1 month series where every Wednesday or Thursday we talked about something significant on marriage, and it just blew up. And I remember thinking, is it because people like seeing us on camera? Is it the topic? What is it? And so then I started to dibble dabble into specifically relationships. And so that is when I transitioned into eventually how to solve your number one relationship. And then I created content around intimacy. That went up, and I was like, you know what? Let's get you guys to stop arguing so that you can have more sex. And then I was like, no, that was just a couple people, Karina. And I talk about this because marketing is so crazy and branding. So then finally we did an assessment, and 90% of my clients were struggling with infidelity.
Mm.
And I hadn't even realized that I was, in a sense, well, actually, I was helping them repair their marriages. But at some point in their marriage storyline or relationship storyline, there was some type of stepping out.
Mhm.
Now, these aren't marriages where people continue to step out. These are people that are, saying, like, I'm choosing to stay if you're going to choose to do the work. So that's where we are right now.
That's amazing. Okay. And I want for y'all listening who have ever had an idea for a business to understand what Karina's talking about, which is the iteration of your specialty, right? Or your niche. So
Mhm.
oftentimes, I think the first area where people get stuck and caught up and stressed out and they fucking quit,
Mhm.
it's because they feel like they have to have that brilliant idea first. But unfortunately, I'm here to tell y'all that building a business is very much throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Mhm.
seeing what sticks. And a lot of that just has to do with trying shit out.
Mhm.
So, when you were first thinking about launching this side hustle, why did you want to do something outside of your career? And to kind of take us back through a little bit of your career journey that led you up to having like this epiphany where you want to do something different.
So I'll give you the streets version, and then I'll give you the godly answer. So the streets version is that I was not happy with my white male older boss. Like, a couple of months before, or maybe a year before, no, 6 months before I started the business, I had gone to my mid-year review, and I had asked for a promotion. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, like, I would really like to be promoted to assistant director or associate director. I mean, that's the role I play. And he basically told me that I could never be promoted for two reasons. One, because I didn't have a film background. At the time, I was directing the operations for a film school. And he said, and two, that position is reserved for me when I step down. And I remember being like, what? And
Wow.
this was at the tail end also of me starting to heal from a very crazy 2-year medical journey where I had like 12 surgeries. I was very sick. I was living with a drain in my body, all this other stuff. And so that's the streets version. I was very angry. And then the other version is that I got pregnant, and it was November of 2019 or October 2019. I was about to give birth, and the room that I'm sitting in, I went in. It was like everybody has that room in the house that you just throw a whole bunch of junk in. This was the junk room. And I came in here, and when I was supposed to be nesting, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, this will be a lab to help many. And I was like, a lab? I was like, Lord, I am so tired of these like words that you give me. Like, just say, be very straightforward because I don't understand. And so I just felt the nudge to clean out the room and paint it white. And I got an IKEA kitchen countertop wooden, which is like a DIY hack. I put two white shelves under it, and my husband bought me my microphone, and I figured I'd just start a podcast. And at the time, it was called One Day at a Time. And I
Mhm.
just originally, the podcast was to show other women that finding harmony, which I learned from Jannese, which she I think heard from a podcast. It's about harmony, not balance.
Mhm.
I wanted to show them that there are other women that are struggling, and I wanted to give them the tips of how to stop struggling, being a mom, being a wife, having kids. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because, and I think Janice and I have talked about this a lot, especially being daughter of immigrants. Like, you feel very alone because you're
Mhm.
always the first. Janice and I are the oldest. You're the oldest, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Mhm.
the oldest, and so it always feels like we're paving the path. And I was just like, I finally surrendered, and I was like, fine, I don't mind. This has to be my purpose somehow. But I was the first in my friend circle to have babies, to get married. And so the business really started from just a nudge from God. And it started out just as a podcast. And that podcast launched in April of 2020. By the end of that year, we were all on, what is that app that we were all chatting on? Like, if it was a podcast,
Ah, yes, Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. We were all on Clubhouse, and somehow I connected with other people, and then I saw Janice, and then I signed up for her side hustle course. And within, I think, like the first couple of weeks, then my sister got diagnosed with cancer. And within the first couple of weeks, I ended up with a $800 gig to go speak on camera about the history of empanadas. And I remember I sent Janice a video and I was like, I know this isn't the side hustle that we were talking about. Like, it's not the business, because at the time I didn't have an LLC. I didn't have a business idea. I didn't have anything. I was just trying to put myself out there. And Janice's side hustle course was basically teaching me the works of, like, even though you don't know exactly what this will look like she said, you have to just start throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Mhm.
And me talking about empanadas on camera, making $800 from it, was throwing spaghetti at the wall, except empanadas. So,
Yes. I love that. And it's an important reminder that the whole battle is just putting yourself out there.
yeah.
Right. So that was, I remember coaching you kind of through just even showing up and like saying yes to this gig and just like
Mhm.
what it means. And it's just you kind of stepping into your power and knowing that you have something to share with the world. And then we're going to like hone in and figure out what that is. So I
Mhm.
think it was an important exercise for you to just be okay with having an identity outside of the traditional, like, I went to school for this, I've done
Mhm.
this for my career, blah, blah, blah. Oftentimes, I think people wrestle with having multiple versions of themselves,
Yes.
right? And especially as moms, I feel like that role feels like such a huge responsibility that if you even think about expanding on your reason for being on this earth beyond that, automatically a lot of these voices start to turn on where it's like, oh, but you're selfish. Oh, but you don't love your kids. Oh, but you're not
Oh yeah.
happy. And like, so I know that you started off kind of coaching women through these self-sabotaging thoughts and just mindsets that keep them struggling.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you identified in your own journey as a mom who was like starting this new side project? Like, did you bump up against any imposter syndrome or just like, those late nights where you're working on the podcast and you're not necessarily putting the kids to sleep? Like, what started to come up for you in those times?
Yeah, such a great question. I remember I before this I had read Shonda Rhimes' A Year of Yes a
I
couple
love
years
that book.
ago. Yeah. And she had talked about how she didn't call it a trade-off. I forgot what she said, but she was like, "Listen, like, if you're going to stay late working, just know that you're going to miss bath time." And vice versa. And that's the trade-off. And if you are trying to make up the time, you will lose. And I think part of my formula is that I'm not trying to make up the time. However,
Mm,
I will share that when I feel an intense amount of mom guilt, which is often, it's immediately tied to trying to make up time. So part of my corporate job was traveling a lot. And this year, this is 2025, I missed my son's birthday for the first time.
mm.
And I was very upset because the original dates for me to fly out were much earlier, but the new dates, this is actually fun. The new dates aligned with the VP's kids schedule.
Oh, mhm.
And so then and in their defense, they did tell me just fly back a day earlier. And I was like, how are you going to ask me to fly back a day earlier and leave my team unhinged? Like, I can't, like, it's going to fail. So
Yeah.
I felt like if anything, that was like a setup to fail. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But I remember, so his birthday's the 13th. I took which is always a red eye from Brazil. I took a red eye the 13th. I landed the 14th. I documented the whole thing. Actually, I think I have a reel on it. I know I have a reel on it. And I came home. I landed at 7. I got home at 9. I took a shower and I went straight to pick up my son. And I had not slept. Obviously, I picked him up. I spent the day with him. And I remember thinking, like, am I trying to make up for his birthday? Like, what am I trying to do here? And you know, even to right now, I don't know, but I just know that I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that feeling. I have never missed my kids' birthdays. I mean, they're
Yeah.
young, they're 10 and 5, but still, it didn't feel good. And so, to your point about, um, how do you find some type of synchronicity between all of your roles and your kids? I think for me, it's trying not to make up time.
Mhm.
That's when I just fall into actions that really deplete me as a person.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense because, at the end of the day, like the choices that you're making as a mother to provide for your family, they have the best intentions. It's not like you're out here like at the club every Friday
Tripping.
because,
Well,
right? It's not like you out
if it's
here
tripping, I get it. If it's for your
doing, fuck shit because
yeah.
you think that that's like the
Yeah,
better
yeah,
use of your time.
yeah.
And so I think we have to remind ourselves like the greater why of why we're doing things and involving your kids in the journey too,
Mhm,
right? Like
mhm.
I think it's important to talk to them, especially as they get older and they can comprehend like why is mommy traveling? Why is mommy spending time? Like, why does mommy need an hour for her podcast?
Yeah,
And like involve them, right? May help them understand like what are we doing this for? What's the collective purpose?
yeah,
Um, it's not that like you want to guilt your kids into giving you space. It's about you want them to understand that in life, we are going to have seasons of different priorities. And it's not
mhm,
that they don't matter. It's not that they are not important. It's that there's only so much time in the
yeah,
day. And mommy doesn't have to be the solution for everything and everyone, especially when you find yourselves like in a partnered relationship, which I
yeah,
want to dive into.
yeah,
Because what I hear from a lot of women when they are first considering even starting a side hustle or they know they want to just launch their own business is I don't have any support.
mhm,
How much of that do you think is real
mhm,
versus how much of it is, especially if you're like first gen, eldest daughter, hyper independent, don't know how to ask for fucking help?
mhm.
How much of that is self induced pressure to do it all and just the inability to ask for help?
Yeah, such a good question. Janice, listen, I'm a straightforward cookie. I'll tell you this, if you want to do any of this, you need support. And sometimes we are blinded to the fact that support exists and it's going to sometimes, for the most part, exist outside of your circle.
Mm,
Janice and I were just talking about our nannies before we
mhm.
got on here. It's not our mom.
No.
It's our nanny. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that when you ask the question how much of it is self-induced, I think that the reality could be that you have no support. But the reality isn't that you can't get it.
Mm,
If
mhm.
you're out here and you can, and I hate to use this example, but if you can stand like we used to back in the day, hours for Black Friday, for the new iPhone, for all the BS, for now on Ticketmaster, waiting for the Chris Brown tickets, if you can stand in all of these lines virtually or in person and wait your turn for something you really need that you want in your life, you can do that for all the other stuff. So if
Mm,
right now you're saying to yourself, like, my husband and I, he's good with it, but we just don't have anybody to take care of the kids. Okay, go look for it. There are Facebook forums within your town. Okay. So if you live in Morristown, there's a Morristown Facebook group. There's a Morristown moms group. There's a New Jersey moms group. There's a
facts.
Central Jersey moms group, all on Facebook. And then there's the same thing on other forums. There's nanny.com, there's whatever.com. And then there are your local schools. You have to open up your mouth and talk to other people like, hey, what do you guys do for pickup and drop off? And
Yeah.
in my town, I quickly found out that a large percentage of them stay at home, like we're stay at home moms.
Mhm.
So when I started to figure that out, I was like, dang, like nobody got a nanny, so nobody knew anybody. So then I went on Facebook, I went to Princeton nanny groups. Like I did everything. I went through 6 to 7 nannies before I found the nanny I have now. That
Yeah.
is 2.5 years of nannies.
Mm,
2.5 years. And the part that I struggle with the most is obviously the transition for my kids and things of that nature. But like that's just an example of, yes, your situation, which is mine, was mine. I really didn't have support. I live an hour and a half. My family acts like I live in West Bumble F. When I only, and Janice knows because she's from North Jersey. Y'all act like we live, and
you
I'm
do, girl. You
yeah,
live
no,
in
no,
carajo.
I don't. See, I'm from North Jersey too, and y'all act like I live crazy far, and I
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
so they don't visit me as much. And the reality is that we had to create our own support. But first, Terrence and I, my husband, had to be on the same page about what I was doing because he knows that he's married to somebody that when I put my head to something is going to happen. If I say I'm going to buy some red shoes, I'm going to buy the red shoes. If I say I'm going to build a business, I'm really going to build a business. It may not look like the traditional business at first, but I will do it. And I'm
Yeah.
also married to somebody that when he says I'm going to be a race car driver, he also became like, we know we're that person. So I don't want to go too deep, but I think the reality is that even if your situation is that you don't have support, you're lying to yourself if you're saying that you can't get it.
Mm, that's going to trigger a lot of people, but you are speaking fucking facts, okay? And I'm glad that you mentioned just the different mediums and platforms that exist because oftentimes I think there is this limited scope for people to understand like where you find support. Like if you don't have family, like then you have no options. And that is not true. I literally found my current nanny by posting inside of my neighborhood group. I
Wow.
come to find out that the post was shared with her by other residents of the community who had already used her as a nanny. Turns out we live 5 houses down from each other. We have mutual friends in the Zumba community because she's a fitness instructor. So it's just like, dude, the help could be literally right next door. But until you first humble yourself to understand that it is not your fucking responsibility to be a martyr and to do everything and then complain about it.
And complain about it. Yeah.
Okay, because it's like one thing if you're gonna like be that martyr, ma'am. I don't want to hear your mouth. I'm sorry. I love you,
Hmm.
but we are modeling oftentimes what we saw our mothers do,
Hmm.
which is a lot of the self-sacrifice to the point of fucking exhaustion and depletion. And then you see a lot of these older ladies looking completely desolate in their just like in their souls because they've given up the majority of their lives to serving others, and then when their kids get older they never explored their own passions, they have no hobbies, they have no friendships, they have no fucking identity outside of motherhood. And a lot of that unfortunately has been self-induced because that is just what the expectation is.
Yeah.
So knowing that that is the example that we don't want to follow, we have to do things differently, and the first thing is understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup and expect to serve anybody.
Mm-mm. Nope.
So, I'm curious, how much of that do you think was playing into like the health struggles and just the mental health aspect of how you were experiencing early motherhood?
Oh, that I actually never thought about that, but I suffered a lot. I hate to stuff. I feel so dramatic saying
No,
that.
I mean, that's the reality of it. This is shit that nobody talks about, but
Yeah,
it's the universal truth.
it's the universal truth. So TJ, my son, was born in 2015, and I do have two older stepdaughters that are now 19 and 16. So they were when Terrence and I got married, they were 4 and 6, or 3 and 6. Sorry, 3 and 6. And so when we had TJ in 2015, you know, everybody says they'll be there.
Bruh, it's a fucking lie.
Everybody says they'll be there. And I think for us, we were 25 when we got married. Nobody was really getting married in my circle. And so that kind of really forced me to really keep my marriage private, which was a good thing. But once my son came along, it felt very lonely. It was just us two. And I never really, I always attribute me being sick to like me just being forced to sit down and like stop, because I also got off of social media for 2 years during that period. But it, I think when I got sick, that exposed who was actually around, and I
Mm,
remember pruning a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, and having really hard conversations with family members. Like I I'll share this very vulnerable story. I think I had my maybe third surgery. I was living with a drain in my body. I had an abscess, and um it was my sister's master's graduation that I couldn't attend to. And I had just had the surgery the day before and I was in a lot of pain. My mom stopped by. She used the bathroom. She came upstairs. She hugged me. And I was like, "Mom, do you want to see the drain?" I showed her the drain. She saw it. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she left. And and listen, I love my mom, but I also remember thinking like nobody really cares.
mm. Mm.
I remember thinking like, wow, like either nobody really cares, or I think Janice and I relate to this. I could literally be so broken, physical, physically, and people would still call me to ask me to do something.
It's the eldest daughter shit. They just think like we are the designated rescuers of the family.
Yes, and
Hmm.
I, and I just remember thinking like, I don't think they see Karina in pain. I think they just see another thing that Karina's going to get through.
Mm, mm,
And that is so hard because you can't. I really haven't had a lot of those conversations with my family about that, because I just don't think they'll understand. But
yeah,
I think that it's because of that that I really had to pull myself out and figure out how I was going to create my support system,
yeah.
and also strengthen my marriage, because I also realized at that time that it was just us two.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into that too,
Okay.
because one of the things that I find so inspiring about you is how open you are about the importance of your marriage in the overall greater, ecosystem that you've created for yourself to be able to pursue your career, your business,
Mhm.
also show up as a mom that you want to be and as a partner you want to be. So, what can you attribute the evolution of your marriage to when it comes to like the conversations that you guys have had, especially in relation to giving yourself the space and understanding to pursue your business,
Mhm.
and not doing it in a way that makes him feel like inferior, right? Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, especially if you're a person of color, there's a lot of very ingrained gender roles, stereotypes that can impact how our marriages function. And I know that you've talked openly about this too, that you are the breadwinner of the
Mhm.
family. And so just tell me more about kind of how the dynamics of your relationship have evolved in order for you both to feel like you're showing up as the best versions of yourself for your families.
I love this, and I love talking about this. And I just want to say one thing in relation to business, which is that it is so important for your partner to support you if you're going to start a business, but that doesn't mean they have to understand all the intricacies of it.
Talk about it.
My husband does not like my posts. He don't watch my stories. He
You are
don't
not his
know.
target audience.
He's exactly. I just told somebody that they were upset that their husband or partner or whatever didn't follow or like. Oh no, it was the husband that was upset that his wife, in a session he was talking about, she doesn't even follow me or like my post or reshare anything. And I was just like, she's not your target audience. She's
Right.
not like,
That's
my
it.
husband is not my target audience, so he could give two craps about it. Um, so I just think that you have such a high expectation, and you're gonna have such a high expectation for your partner as you start your business. And the only expectation you need to have is to support you in the ways that you need to tame the kids while you record something, to make you dinner while you spend 3 hours figuring out your business model, to whatever it is, right? Like that's the support that you need. And
Mhm.
vice versa. For example, and I've mentioned it, my husband's dream was to become a race car driver. He's been doing that. I don't understand anything. Janice, I just know that you put the key in the ignition and you turn it and it makes a loud noise, and that's it.
Right.
I don't know much about it. But I will be on the stand lines. Like I will be right there just filming. I will be rooting him on, and I'll know if it's going well or not by his face, but
Yeah.
like I don't understand. He doesn't expect me to understand. So I think when Terrence and I got married, we had nothing. So we were even Steven, I would say. Or actually he made more money than I did. And he told me uh before we got married, he said, I really want to be a race car driver. And I said, great. And,
What
and
the
I
fuck?
said, well, we have kids. Like, I want kids. And he was like, that's my dream. And I said, well, I'm gonna have to work it out. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, in my very 9 to 5 box, I was like, I don't know. I guess I just want to keep climbing the
Yeah.
ladder. But I don't know exactly what I want to do. And so because his dream was so clear, it was as though our family dynamic shifted to support the person that knew what he wanted to do. And I struggled with that because the reality was that I'm not like used to being the star of the show, but I'm the star of my own show. And so, like, I'm in my own world. And so, being married to somebody that knows what they want to do, as somebody that felt like she was very accomplished, paid thousands of dollars to get 2 degrees, had the job that I imagined was great, and I was climbing, I felt very jealous to watch
Mm.
somebody that knew so early on what they wanted to do. Like, I didn't think, and I've said this before, I mean, I do think that it's stupid in the sense that, like, why would you want to risk your life? That's why I think it's stupid. But I don't think it's a stupid idea, right? I don't think it's a stupid goal. But so we did have difficulties because I was out here struggling and not knowing, I was struggling with my identity. And it took a lot of, conversations and reminders of what he wanted to do, and I had to start to feel secure that it's okay that I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And so for the first 5 to 6 years of our marriage, we were very much focused on Terrence's goal. I He worked a lot of late nights and weekends to, fund the race car. So that meant that I picked up a lot more often. I made a lot of meals by myself. I did a lot of the household stuff. And so I say that to say, because when it came time to switch gears, no pun intended, um, it was easy.
Mm, mhm. Because he already knew that, like, you would put in the time. So,
Yes.
like, the only fair thing would be for the script to get flipped.
Exactly. So it was
Mhm.
kind of like, I know what she did, and now it's my turn. And I think right now we're living in the space of we're both doing our stuff. And
Mhm.
that took that's what caused us to get a nanny.
Mm.
Because at first it was like you have each other.
Yeah.
And so I had his back, and then when it was my turn in the beginning stages, he had my back. And then it was kind of like, well, I couldn't leave his dream hanging because he felt like he had so much to do. And this is speaking like numbers wise. When Terrence first came into the drag racing game, his goal was 9 seconds. Once he met that goal, it's like an addiction. You just want to keep going faster. So by the time I came into the play with the podcast idea, he had just made 9 seconds and he was craving for 8. And so all he was doing was building and building, but he wasn't racing. And to
Mhm.
race, you have to be out there. And that's at the time where I was like, well, I'm building this business. And I remember us looking at each other and being like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Mm.
Maybe we can do it at the same time, but we gonna need help. So we
Mhm.
hired the Macaroni Sisters, which are real sisters down the block. I'm telling you, Macaroni Sisters lived down the block from us, and they would rotate taking care of our kids. And then it was like, we need more. So then we hired one of them as a part-time nanny. And then it was like something with college. So then that's when we started going through the other 5 nannies. And
Mhm.
I mean, I'll just stop there. But like that was really our process. That was really our journey.
Yeah. I love that. And obviously when you're purchasing your support system, that is going to require conversations around finances for the family, right? So can you give us some insight into what that looks like too? Because it's funny, when before we had the baby, my
Mhm,
husband was very much just like, well, why would we ever need help? Like, we're both stay at home. I work from home. He's doing the stay at home dad thing right now. And so it was kind of just like, but why would we ever need that when we have two competent adults in the house?
mhm,
And what we came to realize very quickly was that even when you have the capacity,
mhm.
sometimes you just need the mental break.
Oh,
You just need an hour to go be able to, like, go do your nails or go to the gym and just reset and not be in 25/8 caretaker mode.
mhm,
I think there's a lot of shame that women especially feel
mhm,
about needing a break
mhm.
from your children even though you love them.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into that, but first, give us some insight into how you had the financial conversation around like we
Mhm.
need to hire help and what did that look like practically?
Yeah. So, wow. So many things happened. Um and it's crazy because the way I think about it is my sister's cancer. I got promoted to I left my job in higher ed after 14 years as a social worker, and I went to work in tech, and I started the business, and I was in my third year or second year. No, I was in my second year of my business. All at the same time. And Levi was my baby. He was 2. And I actually had a conversation with my husband recently about Levi because we talk about the kids a lot. And I was reflecting about Levi's infancy. And I started to look back and realize that my son really didn't have the same mommy that TJ had, not necessarily because of work, but because sometimes we go through like emotional things. And I'm going to get emotional, but like looking back, I realized that for like the 2 years that Stacy had cancer, like I wasn't my best for anybody.
Hmm.
But at least TJ was old enough and he could talk, but like Levi couldn't. And I say this because he's really attached to me.
Hmm.
And my husband says like I feel like it's because he's still like sort of like I think he will never say it because he doesn't remember, but like I couldn't be with him as much as I wanted to be with him mentally
Hmm.
through
Hmm.
that period, right?
Yeah.
Um and I share that because I struggled with a lot of guilt from that period, but I share that because for anybody that's listening, you're going whether you're building the business or going through something personal, like you really can't be 100% for your kids all the time.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be a reality. And you're going to need support. And sometimes you need that support just so you could be with them. And I think if it's anything, and I don't regret a lot of things, but if it's anything, I feel like I do regret not getting help earlier
Hmm.
because maybe I could have been more present with Levi if I had help earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't see it that way. And so when you start to see it that way, you start to become so freaking creative with your money. Like you're like, you know what? F the Friday night takeouts. F the vacations. F this. Like, and you just realize how much more important it is to financially invest in that support. Like last week, my oldest son, was in a talent show and we were practicing before the talent show. And I took a video of him, and in the background was my nanny folding. And as I watched the video, I was like, it's crazy to me because 5 years ago, I would have been folding and I would have been like, yeah, 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 just sing it, sing it, sing it. And like, I'll hear you while I
Mm.
fold the clothes. Versus now, it's like, all right, I'm like, oh, I'm like really present,
Wow.
really there. Like, and he's just noticing that. And after he performed, he started crying. And I was like, why are you crying? He's like, I just love it. I love it. Like, he was so happy. And so the conversation to figure out how we were going to do it wasn't long. It was just, do you have to cut out things that you don't think are luxuries, but they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eating out is a luxury.
Especially
Even,
now in this economy. Shit. I mean, it
yeah,
costs fucking $40 for two people to eat at McDonald's.
yo,
The fuck?
yo, Janice knows how much I love ceviche, Peruvian ceviche. And I think the other day I must have paid $21 for ceviche.
That's
And I was like,
disrespectful.
that's insane. I'm used to paying 11, twelve
Wow.
dollars So eating out is a luxury. Certain subscriptions are a luxury. If it's like, you have to basically have those conversations in a way that you are aligned with what the main goal is. And if the
Mhm.
main goal for us was to be present, support one another, not argue,
Yeah.
because that's the other thing support does, is it decreases arguments, okay? Um you first have to be aligned. You'll move everything around. So I think for us it was pretty easy. I would say if I'm thinking back what we gave up wanting to we had a couple house projects that we wanted to do. We didn't do them. And now so Levi. So now 3 years later, Janice knows we're working on them now. So yeah, we're here now. It's okay. We put him on pause. It's not like we were hosting every holiday or something, and who cared? Um Another thing we gave up was I really like shoes. I like to shop. So I had to decrease my shopping. Um we transitioned our oldest out of aftercare.
Okay.
So out of aftercare, because aftercare was $500 a month. So we transitioned him out. We made him walk home from school. So see the trade off? Like then he started
Yeah.
walking home from school, which was hard. So like you make those trade offs, but then eventually everything starts to click and you align on a new normal. The reason why y'all struggle so much is because you don't want to break up with your current normal.
Yeah. Even if it's chaotic.
Even if it's chaotic, like you want to stay in that normal when the reality is that there are many more options to a different normal. And if you want to be successful, you have to be okay being uncomfortable in new normals. You just do. It's
Mm,
just as if your kid was born. That's a new normal.
yeah.
So, right now, you have to make a new normal and stretch your money in different ways. Stop telling me that you can't hire somebody to clean your house. Stop telling me that you can't hire somebody to babysit your kids because you're afraid. If you're afraid, install cameras, do background checks, interview them 3 times, ask for references. There are ways around you getting support. You just are stuck in your current normal and you don't want to get out of the box. And the
Hmm.
people that stay in boxes stay imprisoned in those boxes and never get out. So you have two options. You can either be enslaved to your current situations or you can remove those shackles and come on the other side where we all are driving our boats to success.
Okay, Karina just took us to church, y'all. And if you don't follow her on social media, this is a regular occurrence. So welcome to the program. Holy shit, you are hitting every nail on the head. It is so true. The comfort can be suffocating for people, and it's just you can't even see your way out. So making those radical decisions, especially if they were not modeled for you, is
Mhm,
going to feel weird. It's
mhm,
going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like this is wrong.
mhm,
That does not mean that that is in fact the case. It is
mhm.
just that you are charting a new path. You are doing things differently than what you may have seen. All right,
I
so I'm
did
gonna
want to say one thing.
yes.
I always think this is such a good topic that we're talking about, and I'm pretty sure it's a topic for a different podcast I'm sure you've done. But like, I love that we're talking about this because I'm getting chills now. But like, I feel like there are days that you, Janice, look at your family and your baby and your husband, and you think about the fact that if you didn't make that decision to leave, if you didn't make that decision that was different from the get married to the guy, have the wedding, have the place, like you wouldn't have what you have now.
Every single day, I have that realization when I am not waking up to an alarm clock, when I am not having to go and commute nowhere, when I am able to take PTO without asking for permission, when I have full autonomy around my schedule, when my daughter can just be priority number one all the time. That is not what I saw growing up. And I think back to how much of the trauma that I had around motherhood was this feeling of if that is my reality, I will basically live the same reality that I saw so many women in my family, which was just like you sacrifice your hopes, your dreams, your career, your financial security, like everything goes out the door. I had really correlated the idea that motherhood and like financial independence was completely
Yeah.
not compatible.
Yeah.
And I am living proof that that is not the case.
Hmm.
What I am grateful for, which is something that is still like a pressure that so many women face, which pisses me off, is like you have to do it now. You know,
Mm,
and I'm so glad that I waited to become a mother, to be so much more intentional about the process of creating the financial foundation, of being intentional about my relationships, about just curating a life where this could fit in versus me just having to check off all these things on a list of like what we're supposed to do by a certain age, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and
Because
I
I
feel
think a
like
lot of people wake up one day and they're just like, I don't even recognize my fucking life. And a lot of it has
Mhm,
to do with the fact that you have been going down that checklist of shit that you think you're supposed to do. And it's not aligned with the actual vision of the life that you want.
exactly, and if you've ever met Janice's husband, he's he's like the perfect guy for her. Like, he's so sweet, he looks at her like freaking the Beast looks at Belle when she's coming down.
Oh,
And to, like, do the dance. I'm telling you, like, it's such a beautiful dynamic to and as a friend and as a sister to just like watch you like be with somebody that genuinely loves you, is rooting for you, and is such a great dad and partner. Like, I think that a lot of women struggle because they have difficulties in their relationships and they're struggling with wanting that type of partner.
yeah.
And I can tell you that it's hard. It
Oh,
is.
for sure.
It is because I've seen it. And you know, anyways, we could talk about this, but it's just I just feel like sometimes I people say that like we're so lucky, and I'm like, no, I worked hard for this.
Absolutely.
Like I
And you're
worked really hard.
intentional, you
Yeah.
know? It's not like you're gonna marry the guy that you're with because you've been together 7 years, even though he's put you through shit, even though he stressed you out. You have gray hairs in your 20s because of what this man is doing, but because we've put in the time, like
Yes.
this is just the next logical step, right? And I
Yeah.
can absolutely say without a doubt that my first husband was a result of that kind of thinking. It was just
Mm,
like, hey, we've been together 7 years. It's just what we fucking do,
yeah.
right? There was no intentionality around, is this person going to be a good partner? Would he be a good father? None of that stuff. It's just like the
Mm,
sunken cost fallacy that so many of us have with relationships of just the time put in. Like, I deserve the ring. I deserve the wedding. Do you deserve the fucking chaos?
yeah. Come
Okay,
on.
let's ask ourselves that question.
Mhm.
And so for me also, I had to let go of the idea of what a good man
Mm,
means, because
mhm.
if you look at us on paper, there's a lot of things that are like taboo. Like,
Yeah.
he's 7 years younger than me.
Mm,
I went to college, he didn't.
mhm, mhm,
I've always been the breadwinner, which is, just a thing. Um and he right now is doing the stay-at-home dad role
mhm,
versus me,
mhm,
as a woman, that's like much more acceptable to do.
mhm.
He is half Latino, half white, but the way that he was raised is very like hippie, like country hippie, right? So we have completely different fundamental backgrounds in like how we handled conflict as kids, like
Mhm.
what we saw healthy conversations look like. He grew up in a household where they had family meetings, and like, family meetings, what the fuck is that, right? There's so much fundamentally that like doesn't make sense. But if I had just taken face value of like, oh well, he's 7 years younger, so I'm not going to do that because that's just not what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
I would have missed out on being with this amazing person because of all these perceptions
Mm,
about like what an appropriate partner looks like externally versus what is this person actually composed of from a
yeah,
value perspective? What
yeah.
is their belief system? How do they handle conflict? How do they communicate? What are their triggers? Are they even aware of these things? Have they
Yeah.
done any personal development? Right? Like, these are the type of fucking questions that we need to be asking ourselves about the people that we decide to partner with,
Mhm.
because, and I talk about this in my book,
Mm.
your partner is the single most impactful investment that you will ever make in your life.
Come
It
on.
is not a stock. It is not a business. It is not a fucking piece of real estate. It is the person that you share the majority of your life with, and especially who you decide to have kids with.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So we need to be way more intentional, the same way that you like curate the schools that you want to apply to
Yes.
and the major that you want to fucking do. Ma'am, I need you to put the same amount of effort into vetting who the hell you're gonna dedicate your life to.
Come
Por
on now,
favor. Because
please.
how many women do we know in our circles who that's literally, you see them floundering
Mhm,
because of that choice?
mhm, mhm. I can tell you I was recently in a conversation where a group of women were bashing their husbands, and I couldn't
I
join.
can't fucking participate and
I
I can't
can't
relate.
thank you, I couldn't relate. Like, they were talking about how their husbands just don't understand simple tasks, and I was just like, "Mm." And I was like, "Is there more empanadas?" And I just, like I got up, for 2 reasons. 1, because I couldn't relate, And two, you will never hear me bashing my husband like that. It may be as a joke in the sense of like, I don't even know, but like I wouldn't even joke about something serious. Like I don't have it in me, and
Yeah,
that's something that we both value. Like we just I got a problem with you, I'm gonna tell you to your face.
that's it.
um but I think to your point, Janice, so when we talk about female entrepreneurs that are married, this is part of the formula. You need a safe and sound and supportive marriage. If you
Yeah.
don't, it's going to be more difficult. You will build the business. It'll just be harder.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
All right. So, Karina, I know we could be here for years,
Yeah.
literally. Like, oh, I feel like every time I talk to you, my soul is renewed and I am just so inspired to continue to, focus on growing my business, like growing in my motherhood journey, growing as a human. You do it so well, but I'm curious, how do you do it all?
Mm, yeah. I don't. I told you that before. I don't. And I feel so horrible that I make it seem like I do. I need to start talking about how I don't do it all more often. But yeah, I don't. I hire people. And actually Janice was one of the first people that influenced me, and this is before she had kids. I remember she was one of the first people that was like, just hire somebody to clean your house. And I'm like, "Ugh." I did, and I don't know if I like it. And what did she call it? She didn't call it hiring. You called
Outsourcing.
outsourcing. Yeah. She was like, you need to outsource that. And I was like, "Ugh, I do." But yeah, that I also have I have a therapist. Her name is Haley. You can follow her on Instagram or TikTok. I think her handle is like the anxious therapist or something like that. I don't struggle with anxiety, but I use her because she helps me a lot. She helped me a lot through my sister's cancer, through grief, through the medical PTSD I had. And then recently I've just been struggling a lot internally, and I went back to her. And so Haley's there, my nanny Joanna's there, my husband's there, and I feel like, the reality situation is, I think Shonda Rhimes said this too. She said, moms wear not sleeping as a badge of honor.
Mm.
And I remember reading that and being like, I got to take that badge of honor off. I don't want that. I don't want that, because the reality of the situation is like, when you and your partner met, y'all eventually had sex.
Hopefully.
Okay. And then why did that sex stop? Why did that intimacy stop? Why did those butterflies stop? And it's because everything else got in the way, because one of y'all decided to do it all, or it just got really busy. And I just think that, like, very similar to Janice, I watched my mom do everything, lose herself, be married 3 times, get divorced 3 times, and then be in her 50s and start to discover herself.
Mm.
I don't want to start to discover myself at 50 years old. I would
Yeah.
like to start now, or before this, because I just feel like I'm doing no justice to the immigrants of my family. We're all immigrants, but like coming here, I'm doing no justice to that sacrifice of leaving your family and leaving your country and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to do it justice. And so I think for me, that's one. Two, I I listen, it took me, I wasn't really, okay, this is very personal. I didn't really actually think I was pretty till I was in my 30s.
Mm.
I know it's really hard, but like, only because I predominantly went to a white town, so it was very difficult, and so I struggled a lot with insecurities. And then I started to really feel myself, and I was like, wow, I look good, I'm sexy. Oh, what? I got light eyes, hey. so so then I didn't want to give that up, and I just think doing it all is not attractive.
No, it's not,
I
because
just
you look
don't.
like shit most
We
of the
look
time
like
too. You're
shit.
fucking
Yes,
tired. Go brush your hair. Go take
yes.
a shower. Like, fucking
Go
sit
brush
down.
your
Have a
hair.
glass of water. It's not cute. Like,
It's not cute. And so I started to realize, two, I wanted to look good and stay good. And then three, I felt like I realized, I had a huge epiphany one day many years ago, which is like, if I continue to do everything, I will eventually get divorced.
mm, woo, Lord, if that is not the truth.
I felt like if I continued to do everything, I would start to resent Terrence so much. And this was probably like in year 3. We started going to marriage therapy in year 3 of our marriage, and we talked a lot about it. And the way that that I think I'm gonna just assume that Janice and I struggle with this. I'm a very direct person, and sometimes, and the one thing I've had to work on in my marriage over the years is my tone.
Mm, mhm.
Yo soy bien como demanding. And I don't mean it to sound demanding. In my heart, like when I say it, it sounds lovely. But when it comes out, it sounds very militant and demanding.
Mhm.
And it I didn't realize that early on in my marriage, it was in a sense um uh taking away my husband's manhood. Like
Mm,
I was communicating, but the tone mattered a lot to him, and I didn't
yeah,
realize, because I come from a family where I tell everybody what to do, and then I come from a job in which my job is to tell everybody what to do.
yeah.
And then I didn't realize that I was also coming home and being like, move this, do this, do this, do this. And there was no room for softness. This is before all the soft girl phases on TikTok came about. But there was no room for softness. There was no room for any of that. And I had to really pull the layers back and realize, like, I am being very direct and demanding, but I'm also, when the dominoes all fall, I'm also the one picking them up. I'm not saying let's pick them up together. And that was a very big problem early on in my marriage.
Mhm.
And I think if we had continued down that path, you and I wouldn't be speaking right now. Terrence and I would
Yeah.
not have survived. Yeah.
That's real. That is so real. And just having that sense of awareness and being made aware of like how your communication styles differ with you and your partner. Like, I think it's so important. It's funny. I'm thinking of recent conversation that I had with my husband around my lack of assertiveness. So we've actually had the exact opposite sense, because I think people would believe that I am very much like that, just like demanding. And yes, I can be, I got my Karen, I
I'm
got my
so
inner Karen.
confused. You lack assertiveness?
So I have had to do a
What?
lot of childhood trauma, like awareness.
Okay.
And one of the things that I realized is, because I grew up in a household where my mother was very angry and aggressive, that I shy away from expressing my needs to avoid conflict. And so asking for
Oh.
help is very triggering for me.
Mhm.
And so I would default into like hyper independence, overwhelm, then resentment because I'm overwhelmed, but also don't know how to ask for help. So it was like this vicious cycle.
Oh.
And, at one point, my husband was like, if you want to do everything yourself, like, I don't even know why I'm here. And
Mm.
it's like, "Oh, okay, you're right. So it's me. The problem is me. Hello." And he's even had to tell me, like, don't say, "Hey, do you want to go change the baby?" He's like,
Mm.
"Just fucking tell me, go change the baby." Like, he's like, "I'm going to literally tell you no if you ask me, like, do you want to go do that?" Because it's very passive, and he's like trying to put me in my like assertive, we're equal
Mm.
energy. And the same way that he has no issue asking me for what he needs, he wants me to like develop that skill set, which is, I'm like, you
Oh.
know what? This is why you need to be intentional about your partners, because they
Yes.
should fucking force you to become better versions of yourself, right?
Yeah, they're your mirror.
So literally,
Mhm.
literally, I'm like, I don't know if I signed up for this, but thanks.
I love it.
Um,
I
but it's
love
just
it.
one of these things, right? Where so much of what I think results in conflict in relationship is, A, the lack of awareness of like what you bring to the table,
Mhm.
B, your lack of desire to change that in support of the greater good. And you know, I think as human beings, it is tough to hear that the way that we've been operating like in a default mode needs to change
Yeah.
for two people to be compatible. And I think oftentimes it's never just one person's fault why relationships break down. It is
Yeah.
always a two-person street.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and the only thing that helps, I think, is just the commitment to changing collectively,
Mhm.
the willingness to get called out on your shit
Mhm.
and accept being, kind of that mirror like you mentioned.
Mhm.
Um, and just realizing that, like, especially if you came from dysfunction,
Mhm.
that the new normal feels weird and the actual dysfunction is what feels normal.
Normal. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And because I think we all have family members that we don't want to end up like.
Facts.
And I remember telling my husband, if you end up like that family member, like, first of all, I'm gonna tell you. Second of all, I will leave. Like, I don't know what I'll do. I said, but I will not put up with it. And he said the same to me about
Mhm.
my family member. And I'm like, okay,
Facts.
here we
Yep.
go. I get it. I get it. But it's not. Listen, I know that everybody says marriage is not easy. I agree. Marriage is not easy, but you didn't sign up for easy, did you?
Mm.
Mm. You didn't sign
Easy
up
is
for
continuing to do your bullshit. Easy is just opting out of any kind of fucking development of your relational skills
yeah.
because it's just easier to be alone and miserable and make excuses for like, oh well, men ain't shit out there or there's nothing for
Mhm.
me or whatever. I think like that's such a limiting belief that so many people have that just forces them not to work on themselves.
Yeah. And so I think, here's what I will share, and this is more mechanical. So I think I'm gonna share something that I think many people ask me, which is like, how do you do it? Which is what Janice said, right? So
Yeah.
I'll pan it out. So our nanny comes Monday through Thursday. She's a part-time nanny. She comes Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 8:30. And then she comes Tuesday, Wednesdays, she does pick up from 5 and then she leaves at 7:30 and she starts dinner. So what happens is Mondays, Wednesday nights and Thursdays are my client calls, and my husband on Tuesdays and Wednesdays works on his side, his business, his side clients, and also his race car. So that's why we need her Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. Monday, yeah, Monday, when she drops off the kids, I'm with the kid. That's my time with them before I hop on my calls. So while she's, here or whatever, no, she doesn't drop off on Monday. I pick up on Mondays. Sorry. When I pick up on Mondays, that's my time with them. And then my husband will take over and that will be whatever. But like, I'll be out of the pictures. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, when she picks them up, that's when I'm in. I can sit, I can relax, I can talk to them. Yesterday we played, I don't know if you guys remember the game Guess Who,
Mhm.
where with the charts or whatever. So we played Guess Who. If you've ever seen my content on Instagram, we play a lot of Uno, we play a lot of card games. All of that is possible with help, okay?
Yeah.
And then Thursdays, my husband does pick up, and then I hop on my client calls in the evening. And then Fridays is a hodgepodge day. But that's what it looks like. And then on Saturdays, I am the de facto to go grocery shopping. We make our list together. We write down our meals for the week so that we don't overspend, because if you've ever gone to the grocery store hungry, you can overspend. And also, 2 years ago, we became very committed to less plastic and also more local foods and vegetables. And so 2 years ago, we started shopping at the farmer's market, started shopping at more locally grown. So that means that there's three probably areas that I have to shop at. When I come home, my husband is, during that time, he's cleaned up the house, not a deep clean because we have somebody, she just was here yesterday, that comes once a month to deep clean the house. So during that time, he's just putting everything away, getting the kids ready for the day. I'll be back by noon. When I come back, my husband takes all the groceries, he puts everything away. If there's time, he'll start juicing or start cleaning a lot of the fruit or whatever. If not, everything happens on Sunday. Now, the question is, well, what if you have to go to an event? What if you have to do something? What I want you to understand is that when you have a routine, the purpose of a routine is so that you can be flexible. But if you're flexible all the time,
There's
then
no
it's
routine.
always, yeah, it's just always hitting the fan. So
Mhm.
when you have a set routine of what everything and everything happens, two things occur, especially if you have kids. Your kids are safe because they know what to expect.
Mhm.
It feels better. They know exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Two, you and your partner are okay changing the plans because you have a set plan. So sometimes my husband will come to me and say, babe, I really got to pick up this car on Monday. I can't do it on my Tuesday. Is that okay? Of course, let's call Joanna. Can she do an extra night? Yeah, not a
Mhm.
problem. I can't cancel one of my client calls. I have to take it. All
Yeah.
right, not a problem. It's simple as that. If we
Yeah.
have a party to go to on Saturday, well, that means I have to go grocery shopping Sunday morning. But at least I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. The
Yeah.
reason why many of us stay in our chaotic cycles is because we're not open to creating a some type of structure, and structure is the very thing that is going to bring safety into your household, bring money into your household. Okay, when you have structure, you make more money.
Yeah. It's true.
Okay, and then three, it's the very thing that's going to save your marriage.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you have taken us all the way to church, and I'm so here for it. I know that clients are going to be so intrigued, and listeners of the show are going to want to know so much more about you, how they can work with you. So tell us where we can find you and what you hope to instill as far as like what your energy is for folks that enter your atmosphere.
Okay. So I primarily live on Instagram and TikTok. My handle's Karina F Daves, F as in Frank. And I would say that you can watch my content. It's all free. And you can watch it, you can implement it, you can learn it. I mean, I give it away very freely. I don't care. But I think when we work together, one of the first things that we do is we figure out where your relationship fell apart. There's always a buildup to getting to where you guys are now. And that's the very thing that's missing. You don't have those answers. And because you don't have those answers, you're choosing to go to therapy, which I love, but therapy is only going to get two people talking about their feelings. You're not going to get actionable plans. You're not going to get somebody that's going to say, okay, because this happened, now we're going to implement this. This is a timeline. You're just going to get to the answers of why did you do this, why did you do that, and then you guys will just struggle or argue, and then one person will leave feeling like the therapist hates them.
Hmm.
That is the complete opposite. And Jannese knows this about me. If I judge you, I can't help you. So I
Hmm.
don't care what your circumstance has been. I've worked with it all. I literally have worked with clients that have slept with strippers. I have worked with clients that have slept with family members. I have worked with clients that are Jannese knows this is crazy. I've worked with clients that are in open marriages. I have worked with clients that, I
Believe
mean,
me.
every everything under the bus. Your situation is never going to be unique to me, and I won't judge you for it. So that's, I think, the type of that I know that you'll be with me, and I can't wait to meet you.
That's amazing. I'm going to link all of Karina's resources in the episode show notes. If you've been struggling in your relationship and you know that it is a block to all of the other things that you want to do, including making, new financial goals, starting a business, all that stuff, you need to get to the foundation of like what is going on, because the environment that you're in is either going to, flourish. It's going to help you flourish, or you're going to flounder. So, thank you for the work that you do, Karina. Thank you for spending the time pouring into the Yo Quiero Dinero audience. And thank you for giving us permission to just elevate in like all the different ways, and keep killing it, sis. I'm so
Oh,
proud of you. And I
amen.
just
Thank you.
love watching your journey.
Oh, I love you too. I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.